Today we're exploring Defeated Creek Campground on Cordell Hull Lake in Tennessee. If you enjoy kayak fishing, boating, nature, peaceful waterfront camping, then this campground might be worth adding to your list. Let's take a look. One of the things we really liked about Defeated Creek is that so many of these campsites have access to the water. And as we pedaled our kayaks around the campground, we noticed a mix of shoreline conditions. Now, some sites have easy access to the water with gentle entry points, while others have riprap or steeper banks. If you're bringing kayaks, it's worth paying attention to the shoreline near the site where you're going to be making reservations. And many of these waterfront sites offer beautiful views of the lake, plenty of shade, and easy access for fishing right from camp. This section of the campground was one of our favorites from the water. Many of these sites sit directly on the shoreline and offer easy access for your kayaks, your fishing, and enjoying the lake views. You'll see behind that leaning tree, we stayed in site 6. And next to that is site 8, and then 10, 12, 14, 15, and then 16, which in my opinion was probably the best site in the campground. Site 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, 26, 27, 31, and 32. Now, one thing I'd like to note, all of those sites I just mentioned are 50 amp, but they do not have sewer. There is a dump station on the way out, and we did use that, and it was quite nice. Now, this section of the campground includes sites numbered 35 through 71, and they offer 50 amp service and full sewer hookups. One thing to keep in mind though when reviewing the campground map is that the site numbers, they don't follow a simple pattern. Unlike some campgrounds where there's odd numbers on one side of the road and even numbers on the other side, the numbering here jumps around a bit. If you're trying to reserve a specific site based on proximity to the water, shade, or hookups, it's worth spending a few extra minutes studying the campground before booking. These sites sit a little higher on the hillside than some of the waterfront loops. While many still offer the lake views, they're not quite as close to the water as they may appear on the campground map. We noticed quite a bit of riprap along here, the submerged and on the shoreline, and they use that to prevent erosion, but it's something to keep in mind if you're launching a kayak or a paddleboard, or you're planning on pulling your watercraft onto shore. You need to know about this. The rocks are not necessarily a problem, but they do make that access a little different than some of the grassy areas we saw. And for us anglers, we love these rock transitions, especially when they meet the submerged vegetation. And heads up, because this whole area along this side, that riprap did meet the vegetation, and we got quite a few hits and reeled in some nice bass along there. Now, one thing I really liked about that western side of the campground was the view. These sites, all of them, from the very beginning on site 6 all the way through to the site 71, you're going to have some amazing, beautiful sunsets in the evening. And as we round the corner, I want to make note that you're going to start with around campsite number 73. That is pretty much right on the south point. That is where we begin back into 50 amp electric service, but no sewer hookups. But it is beautiful. Sites 73 and 74, which you'll see here just to the right of this video, those sit very close together, and they would make great buddy sites for families or friends that are traveling together. And like much of this campground you've seen already, it has a lot of heavily shaded mature trees and a lot of green space. But you're going to get the morning sunrise over on this side. And this section is right across from a little playground, some parking, a bathhouse, and a dumpster. Now we're getting into the area where you're going to see the public beach. And I say public, but it's not public. It's the people that are registered for the campground, but it is the beach. Boats are not allowed at the beach, and neither are animals. Any of your pets have to stay behind. So as I continue past the beach, some of the sewer hookups are going to return at site 94, and it's going to continue all the way to the end of the waterfront row, which is site 112. Now, this area offers a whole lot of opportunities for waterfront views, the beach, the full hookup, so you can see why that would be a very attractive area for people, especially who are making this a longer stay. Now the shoreline conditions can vary a little bit right here. You see some sand, but also some erosion. And while this might be a little bit of a steep drop off, but you could park on one side or the other. As you can see, these other boaters have done that. If you're planning to launch a kayak or a paddleboard or spend time along the shore, just pay close attention to that terrain around the specific site when you're making your reservations. Now overall, I found this section to be one of the more desirable areas of the campground, especially for campers looking to combine the waterfront access with those full utility hookups. Next, we're coming up to the campground's boat ramp and trailer parking area. The boat launch is paved, it's well maintained, and it's not overly steep. There's plenty of parking for your trucks and your trailers, along with a floating dock equipped with those cleats for tying off. And it makes it great for loading and unloading your passengers or trying to park your truck and getting back to your boat. Now, I wasn't able to determine if they allow the overnight docking there, so you'll probably want to check with the campground staff to make sure if that's important to you. This boat ramp is located inside the gated campground, and it's intended for registered campers only. There's a public marina located just outside the campground across the street. One quick thing I want to note, since we're finished up with the campground sites itself, is that this tour was filmed entirely from the water, and I can't always identify the campsite number from the shoreline, so if you're planning a visit, I recommend using these observations along with the campground map to help you choose which site is best for your camping style. We noticed right away that this water was pretty clear. You can see here some bass swimming along the edge, and there was a lot of submerged vegetation. We had coontail, milfoil, some hydrilla. All of this makes excellent holding area cover for bait fish, and the bass love it. So most of the fish we caught were holding along the edges of these weed beds, especially where the vegetation would transition into the open water.
Cordell Hull really reminded me of Lake Gunnersville back home in Alabama. Lots of submerged vegetation, milfoil, hydrilla, and coontail. I expected the same baits to work that I use on Gunnersville. The main baits would be a splashy swimmer, chatterbait, swimming worm. Couldn't get a bite on any of those baits. Ended up switching over to a green pumpkin 6-inch zoom lizard, and Tina threw a baby brush hog in watermelon red, and they seemed to produce pretty good on the outside of the vegetation. We had to drop down to an 1/8 ounce tungsten weight because the fish seemed to be in a very negative and not a very active mood.
And now for the Bindi Report. Defeated Creek definitely earned 2 paws up, and between the shady campsites, the kayak rides, plenty of squirrels and deer to supervise, and those evenings by the campfire, Bindi settled right in. While there's not a dedicated dog park here, there are plenty of great places to walk and explore. We think she would happily come back here. Earlier this year, we purchased a 2005 Lance 881 Max truck camper, and we've been slowly updating it and modernizing it to fit the way we love to travel. This trip to Defeated Creek was one of our first longer adventures in it, and we're quickly discovering just how much we enjoy this style of camping. After years of traveling with a fifth wheel, the truck camper has given us a whole new sense of freedom. We arrived at Defeated Creek without a reservation, and instead of stressing over whether we would fit into a campsite, we were able to just relax and choose a site that worked well for us. We stayed on Site 6, which offered water and electric hookups, plenty of shade, and access to the water. We also had a clear view of the sky for our Starlink. Our Verizon service was a little weak, but we stayed connected when we needed to. It's amazing how a smaller camper has opened up so many new possibilities, and we have a feeling that it's going to take us on some incredible adventures. As the sun sets and the campfire winds down, it's hard not to appreciate places like Defeated Creek. Whether you're here to fish, paddle, camp, or simply slow down for a few days, this is the kind of place that reminds you why getting outside is so important. If you're coming along with us, we'd love to have you join us for the next adventure. Until then, get outside, make some memories, and we'll see you on the holistic walk.